Welcome to the channel. You know that feeling when, on paper, you're doing everything right. You've got the great job, the impressive title, the salary, but deep down, something just feels off. Kind of like you're climbing this amazing ladder, but you're starting to wonder if it's even leaning against the right wall. Well, today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea that gets right to the heart of that feeling. It's called moral ambition. I mean, just imagine your mentor saying this to you. It's a total game changer, right? The idea that maybe the problem isn't you, but the definition of success you've been sold. This one sentence from Rutger Bregman's work is our jumping off point today. We're going to reevaluate what a successful career actually looks and feels like. It's not about finding your way. It's about retitling your entire mission. All right, so first things first, let's really diagnose this problem. So many of us can find ourselves in what's best described as a gilded cage. It looks absolutely beautiful and impressive from the outside, but from the inside, it feels like a cage. And that's the core dilemma, isn't it? You've worked so hard, you've hit all the benchmarks that society calls success, but it just leaves you feeling empty. That golden ladder we talked about. It's sturdy, for sure, it's impressive, but if it's leaning against the wrong wall, every single step you take up just moves you further away from where you really want to be. It's basically a crisis of purpose that's disguised as a success story. There's a name for this, actually. Some people call it the talent Bermuda Triangle. Bregman points out this wild trend where a huge chunk of the brightest graduates from the best universities all get funneled into this tiny set of high-paying jobs. And it's not always because they're passionate about finance or consulting. A lot of the time, it's just fear, fear of the unknown, fear of not being financially secure, or just pressure to follow the quote-unquote smart path. And the real tragedy? It's the wasted potential. We're talking about minds that could be solving climate change or fighting pandemics, who are instead optimizing ad clicks. Okay, so if any of this is resonating, if you're feeling a little trapped in that gilded cage, how do you even start to find a way out? Well, it all begins with just figuring out where you are. So let's walk through a really simple but honestly super powerful framework to help you map out your current position. So this whole framework is basically a map, and it's built on two key things. Ambition, that's your drive to get stuff done and make your mark. And idealism, which is your desire to do something good, something meaningful. When you plot those two things from low to high, you get these four really clear career archetypes. So have a look and think about where you might land. Low ambition and low idealism, you might be in what the late David Graeber famously called a bullshit job, work that just feels completely pointless. High ambition but low idealism, that's our gilded cage. Looks great, feels empty. What about high idealism but low ambition? That means you've got a huge heart, but you might not be making the big impact you want to. The goal, the place we're all aiming for, is that top right corner, high ambition and high idealism. That's where the world changers live. Seriously, just take a moment, no judgment, just be honest with yourself. Where do you think you land on this map right now? Because knowing your starting point, that is the absolute most important step to figuring out how to get somewhere more meaningful. And hey, while you're thinking about that, if you're getting something out of this framework, do me a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us keep making more explainers on these kinds of big ideas. And for sure, drop a comment. We'd love to hear where you're at. All right, so you've figured out your archetype, and you've got your eyes set on that top right world changer quadrant. Now what? Well, now you need the right toolkit. See, it's not enough to just want to do good things. You've got to be effective. And that's all about this huge mindset shift from being what we might call a saint to being a strategist. Let's break this down. On one side, you've got the saint approach. This is all about ideological purity, demanding perfection, which honestly usually just pushes people away. But on the other side, you have grounded idealism. This is the good stuff. It's about being okay with compromise, celebrating the small wins, and building big teams of people to get things done. That's the strategist's playbook. It's understanding that real change, it happens in the messy middle, not some perfect theoretical world. And if you look at history, it's just packed with examples of this working. The Dutch folks who rescued people during World War II, they weren't sitting around debating philosophy. They were practical people who saw a problem and just acted. The anti-slavery movement, it didn't win by just shaming people. It gained huge momentum by telling powerful, strategic stories that made the injustice impossible to look away from. Think about Ralph Nader. He didn't just whine about unsafe cars, he built a whole movement. Every single time, success came from pragmatic, strategic action, not from being perfect. Now, I get it. You might be listening to this and thinking, okay, that's great for these historical giants, but what can little old me actually do today? It's so easy to feel small, to feel powerless. But I want to tell you one amazing modern story that just completely shatters that idea. Let me tell you about a guy named Rob Mather. His journey didn't start with some grand master plan to save the world. Nope, it started with one tiny act. He sponsored a single charity swim. That was the first ripple. But then that little idea started to catch on. It grew kind of on its own into a small foundation. And that foundation just kept growing because it focused on doing one thing and doing it incredibly well. That tiny ripple became a massive wave. And today, the Against Malaria Foundation is one of the most effective charities in the entire world. So what's the result of that massive wave? It's estimated that the foundation's work has saved, wait for it, over 700,000 lives. Just let that number sink in, over 700,000 people walking the earth today because one guy decided to start one small ripple. That right there is the incredible power of strategic, focused, moral ambition. And that's really the heart of Rob Mather's story, isn't it? You don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to be a president. It's just about making a choice to start, to act, to do something. No matter how small you think it is, your one choice, your one ripple, it really can move the world in ways you can't even begin to imagine. Okay, so let's recap where we are. We've diagnosed the problem of the gilded cage, we've mapped out where we might be, and we've talked about the strategic mindset we need for the journey. So now, let's talk about the destination, fully embracing this new definition of success called moral ambition. And this brings everything into focus with one final, super important comparison. Think about traditional success. It's all about climbing that golden ladder, right? It's measured in money, status, job titles. But moral ambition? It completely flips the script. It's not about what you get. It's about what you give. Success is measured by your impact. Did you leave the world just a little bit better than you found it? It's about building something that matters, something that lasts. And look, this is a really important point. This is not some radical call for you to quit your job tomorrow and join a nonprofit. I mean, unless that's what's right for you, then go for it. But for most of us, it's about a much deeper internal transformation. It's about shifting your whole mindset. It's about finding ways to use your skills for good, maybe right inside your current company or through volunteering. Or maybe it does mean a career change down the line. But the very first step is to just transform your purpose. Which brings us to the last and honestly, the most important question of all. When it's all said and done, when you look back on your career, your life, what's the story it's going to tell? What is your legacy going to be? So, to wrap it all up, what are the big takeaways? First, be real with yourself. Are you in a gilded cage? Second, use that ambition/idealism map to find your spot. Third, remember to be a strategist, not just a well-meaning saint. Fourth, and this is a big one, never, ever forget that your small ripple can become a huge wave. And finally, dare to redefine what success means to you. Make it about your impact, not just your title. If any of this sparked something in you today, it would mean the world to us if you'd like this explainer, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more. And please, I really want to know, what does moral ambition mean to you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for listening.